Peace and blessings. Hit the like button when you come on into the room. We appreciate you. And let's go.
Well, immigration is a top issue among voters, especially in border states like Texas. Recent changes in the Biden administration's policies have resulted in fewer illegal crossings. Yet critics argue that some of those changes could encourage more arrivals. Well, CBN's Tara Mergener reports from McAllen, Texas.
As the sun sets over the Rio Grande, the Texas-Mexico border appears peaceful. Once the major hotspot for illegal crossings, the situation has changed due to Texas spending billions toward aggressive border enforcement, from barbed wire and floating buoys to the National Guard.
If you cross in Texas, you will be prosecuted.
While illegal immigration is down overall in Texas, the numbers show many migrants are rerouting to other states, often with smugglers, due to Governor Greg Abbott's enhanced border security.
Border officials say that means more crossings in neighboring states like Arizona, New Mexico, and California.
Most of this cartel. If you pay the cartel to get across, they're taking you up north because it's easier for them.
Biden administration executive orders aimed at streamlining asylum requests have also reduced the number of dangerous crossings and expedited deportations.
I'm announcing actions to bar migrants who cross our southern border unlawfully. Migrants will be restricted from receiving asylum at our southern border unless they seek it after entering through an established lawful process.
In August, 58,000 migrants entered the U.S., down from a...
Okay, so it just said 58,000 came in August alone, right? And that's down, even though that still seems like a large number. What she's going to say in December of 2023, the amount that have come into just that month alone is staggering, which really kind of gives some context to how we've gotten to be in less than 4 years, over 20 million undocumented illegal migrants coming into the country.
Record 250,000 in December. That's a 68% drop compared to a year ago.
While the Biden administration touts a recent drop in illegal border crossings, critics argue they don't tell the whole story. They claim new legal pathways for migrants don't reduce overall migration, but instead encourage more arrivals and further complicate border security.
The traffic and people coming into the pipeline has not abated under the executive order. The Biden administration for quite some time now has been using the parole system to let people make an appointment on CBP One app and fly into the country, so effectively flying over the border.
Okay, y'all. So listen, I agree with Miss Yo on this. We really don't know how many people are here. We have to go off of the word of those that have a vested interest in the direction and the trajectory that this country is going, right? Now, what I will say is that what he just stated is that they can go through an app and set an appointment, but we're not going to just skip over the fact that he's saying that people are being flown into this country. So us as citizens, you have people that take business trips on a weekly basis, people that travel for personal day in and day out. Millions per month fly in our friendly skies in this country, but we are facilitating an influx that this country cannot sustain long term, or even, in my opinion, short term. And we give them first class flights or free flights to where they would like to go in order to set up shop for them and their families. Just amazing to me.
As the sun sets over the Rio Grande, the Texas-Mexico border appears peaceful. Once the major hotspot for illegal crossings, the situation has changed due to Texas spending billions toward aggressive border enforcement, from barbed wire and floating buoys to the National Guard.
If you cross in Texas, you will be prosecuted.
While illegal immigration is down overall in Texas, the numbers show many migrants are rerouting to other states, often with smugglers, due to Governor Greg Abbott's enhanced border security.
Border officials say that means more crossings in neighboring states like Arizona, New Mexico, and California.
Most of it is cartel. If you pay the cartel to get across, they're taking you up north because it's easier for them.
Biden administration executive orders aimed at streamlining asylum requests have also reduced the number of dangerous crossings and expedited deportations.
I'm announcing actions to bar migrants who cross our southern border unlawfully. Migrants will be restricted from receiving asylum at our southern border unless they seek it after entering through an established lawful process.
This comes from the same administration that has threatened, I don't know if they're still in the process, but I know that it was made public through the media that the current Biden administration threatened to sue Abbott, the governor of Texas, because he decided to follow the Constitution and the border laws that are currently in place that Biden helped put in place. And because he decided to enforce those laws and to take matters into his own hands in order to get some order in the state of Texas, now he's saying, basically, this is what we're trying to do. It's just a bunch of word salad as far as I'm concerned. Because why would you sue the state of Texas for following the law? I'm just saying.
August, 58,000 migrants entered the U.S., down from a record 250,000 in December. That's a 68% drop compared to a year ago.
While the Biden administration touts a recent drop in illegal border crossings, critics argue they don't tell the whole story. They claim new legal pathways for migrants don't reduce overall migration, but instead encourage more arrivals and further complicate border security.
The traffic and people coming into the pipeline has not abated under the executive order. The Biden administration for quite some time now has been using the parole system to let people make an appointment on CBP One app and fly into the country, so effectively flying over the border.
The CBP One system helps process about 50,000 asylum seekers monthly, with more than 800,000 migrants paroled into the U.S. since its launch last year. Millions remain waiting for appointments.
This traveler feature is now live on CBP One.
Humanitarian parole programs also allow legal entry for tens of thousands each month from designated crisis countries, unlike regular parole, which is case-specific.
It's like the U.S. government is completing the smuggling process. They're gaming the system and they're skewing the numbers, so it looks like immigration's down when it's actually not down at all.
We see what happens in New York. We saw what happened in Springfield, Ohio, Aurora, Colorado. That impact is being felt regardless of what the level of traffic at the border is.
We reached out to the White House about these concerns and are still awaiting a response. Meanwhile, agents also point out the flow of dangerous drugs into the U.S. has not stopped. So far this year, border authorities report seizing at least 10,000 pounds of fentanyl.
10,000 pounds of fentanyl? We're talking about the same drug that if it absorbs through the skin, and if you don't have gloves on and enough of it gets in there, it can kill you. So we're talking about it coming in through the border in the form of candy. I was trying to really sound the alarm this Halloween for those that I knew would still take their children out for trick-or-treating or engage in the celebration of Halloween, to really, really, really be mindful of the candy. A child is not going to know the difference. And a lot of the adults are not going to know the difference either. But this is the type of opening and the type of access and the type of support per this current administration, because they're not stopping it. That's why I say they support it. Not only did they allow it and have been allowing it to happen, but still to this, up until the day before election, crickets. There's no addressing it without some humbug and some word salad and some garbage being uttered from the mouths saying, okay, well, you put us back in the office and then we'll focus on that next term. No, you won't. No, you won't. This is wild.
Bring dope through the river. The drug crossings obviously have not slowed down, and we hear it every day, and we see it every day, and the talk about fentanyl, and it's very real.
And they say so is the potential terror threat to the United States, as individuals from more than 160 countries still show up to cross.
You just need one person, or in the event of 9/11, what was it, 9 people? You don't need many to cause us a lot of problems here in this country.
Problems those on the front lines insist will continue no matter which method migrants choose to get here. In McAllen, Texas, Tara Mergener, CBN.
Y'all look at all those people. And this is recent. This is the influx of people that are trying to come across the border prior to the election. Again, in case Trump wins, they know that that window has closed. So for the past 3.5 years, the border has been open. The southern border has been open, even with Texas enforcing and restricting access through their state. They still have been allowed to come over here with no consequences, with assistance, with resources, with monies, with food, with clothing, with now we have a Democratic president-elect or a president placement because she wasn't elected. That's saying, you know what, we're going to not only that, but we're going to give you $6,000 for those taxpayers for a first-time tax credit for a child born on this soil, and we're going to grant you $25,000 basically in home ownership, with the prices of homes increasing to the point where they're unaffordable by most working citizens in this country, including our vets. Let's put them at the top of the line. We have so many veterans that have served this country that deserve nothing less and much more than what these immigrants that have no vested interest into the soil are getting hand over fist. And who's talking and acknowledging and taking care of the ones that keep this country safe voluntarily, right? Look at all these people. This is wild. This is wild to me. So I'm going to go ahead. I could play it, but it's not that much longer. But I do want to just transition into the next video where Texas has been implementing their military in order to enforce, because all of these people have ramped up and are trying to come into the country at the last second when they've had 3.5, 4 years to do so. Now they want to bombard their way in and beat the bell, so to speak. And they are really using every port of entry that can be utilized. And they're still trying to come through the Texas border. And this is the recourse that Texas is taking in order to redirect them somewhere else. Ain't nobody saying you can't come over here, at least the current administration isn't, but we're saying you can't come through these borders if you're not legal or you don't go through the regular ports of entry and due process.
One of the biggest issues facing voters right now, the southern border. Both Trump and Harris say it is essential to work with Mexico for border security. And a new poll shows nearly 70% of voters back a stricter immigration stance. And in a News Nation exclusive, a new controversial tactic being used by the Texas military, pepper ball launchers being used to deter migrants from crossing the southern border. Let's bring in border correspondent Allie Bradley, who is live for us in Eagle Pass, Texas. Allie, what more are you learning?
Yeah, hey, Nicole, it's basically like a posture of turn back or else. The state of Texas showing force here along the southern border as these migrant group crossings are once again picking up. And what's kind of crazy to see is that Mexico is doing very little to stop it. So take a look here at what we witnessed. We were the only news crew out here yesterday when this was unfolding. A group of 45 being ushered over by a coyote on the south side. We saw him operating. We saw him working. You can see the individuals, the migrants there forming kind of a human chain in order to get across the Rio Grande into Shelby Park. Now, once they make it across, Texas military tells them they cannot cross there. They tell them they have to go back to Mexico to cross legally at a port of entry. The migrants disregard those orders. They continue walking. That then prompts the deployment of these pepper balls, soldiers firing them at the ground in front of the group in an attempt to create an irritant cloud. Now they're trying to get them to turn back around. You see the migrants holding their shirts up kind of as a buffer. They're wiping their eyes, their nose, but still marching on. Then they're crawling through the concertina wire to continue moving forward. The cartels, though, they're using these so-called test runs to see how Texas is going to respond. They sent over a couple before the bigger group. Texas military blocked their access as well, telling them 3 times that they need to turn back and cross legally at a port. Take a listen to the interaction here.
I already told them that. I already told you 3 times. That you gotta move. I even let you know that we have told you that we move without south or river. Safe zone cross by. Again, already told you 3 times. You're going to use the purple balls for you. No balls there.
So he has the patience and the demure to redirect these people and say, nobody is saying that you can't come into this country. I understand. I see you, but you just can't come through here. And as the newscaster just stated, they are testing the waters. So this news clip was posted 3 days ago, where the day before election, and it's going to be interesting to see any type of footage that evolves and comes out of actually the desperation of the last minute people wanting to come into this country, because most of them feel entitled and feel very secure that once they get over here, no matter who becomes president, they're not going to be redirected back to their native lands. And I think some of that confidence comes from the fact also that a lot of these countries have a no return policy. So they're like, okay, they make it onto your soil, they make it on over the border into your country, they're your property. They're your problem at this point. They belong to you. They can't come back. We don't want them back. And make it do what it do, right? Salute to the chat. We got Bolo in the building. Peace and blessings. Shirley Kirkland. I appreciate y'all. And Celia Benyaz in the building. It is so good to see my peoples up in here. Please tap the like button if you haven't already. And then once we get through this, which is only a couple more minutes or so or less than, then we're going to get off into some of the tactics that in my opinion, the liberals have been using in order to, bits and pieces, sway the vote, get the count going in their direction, in their favor, to secure their situation and their position in the White House for 4 more years. Oh, Lord, we can't stand another 4 years, y'all. Not of this.
Then in front of cost so much harm, that makes you sneeze, and fire alarms not. But yet again, I already told you 3 times, and I also showed you where to go.
So both candidates talk often about working with Mexico and that partnership. But while we were out there, our neighbors to the south were doing very little to help. The Mexican military appeared on the shore after that group crossed, standing there just watching. The migrants refused to turn back to Mexico, and some of them actually reported that Mexican officials, Mexican federales, were blocking them from crossing at a port legally. I mean, they were literally standing there on the shore, Nicole, with like their arms crossed in kind of an intimidating posture. So the migrants were not going to turn back around and go to Mexico. So we're kind of in this stalemate here in Texas right now. Now, these individuals did continue walking. They were ultimately apprehended by Border Patrol, but after Texas military had to decontaminate them, Nicole. So yeah, a lot going on still down here at the border. It is still very active and still a fight for Texas.
Absolutely.
So basically, as I said, they don't want them back. Nope, they're your problem. They're your property now. You said that all they had to do was get across the border. That was all they had to do. Once they got across the border, which technically, if you are in Texas and you haven't come through the regular port of entry or the assigned port of entry, then you are not technically. But you know what? That's I'm not a part of the border control. That's just my logic kicking in and my assumption. It is what it is. They don't want them back. They have become our issues. They have become our problems. Peace and blessings, everybody. I hope you have a great day. And I'll see y'all in the next chat. Love y'all.